Bitcoin is still trading around $67,000, give or take. As I said, it's basically just going sideways for the last basically like 2-3 weeks now at this point. Judging by my comments in my last video, you guys are very salty about the price action and just kind of like my prediction overall, with a bearish like sort of price action, and then I'm pretty bearish on the whole stock market and economy collectively. Now, those of you that are not new to the channel, you would know that I've been pretty much a bull this whole time until basically like very structurally key levels, right? Wherever we broke like the $75,000 range of Bitcoin, that was where I turned really bearish with the whole crypto landscape. Obviously, shortly after that, all altcoins kind of crashed like 40-50%. That's not to say that that's just going to sustain and that we're not going to have some kind of like short-term relief rally, right? But I do think that there's a lot of just cautionary things kind of going on in the whole landscape. Obviously, there's a lot of tensions going on with the geopolitical landscape. There's a lot of talks about like, war breaking out within the next couple weeks. I'm not really of the opinion that that's going to happen. I think that cooler heads are going to prevail, but I do think in time that's kind of inevitable whenever it comes to the way that these whole countries kind of operate. Don't really want to get too much into that. I want to kind of focus more on like on the financial aspect so that you guys kind of hopefully benefit, right? A lot of these tech stocks have been decimated. There's this whole like SaaS apocalypse coming on because of OpenAI right now. I don't really think that it's going to be replacing all of these necessarily like AI companies or tech companies. I do think it kind of threw like a little wrench in like the plans, and I think that a lot of people are scared. But it's just the way the markets work. You always need some sort of narrative to justify why things are the way they are. And so if you're somebody that maybe you're new to the markets, or maybe you're just very emotional right now when it comes to just making investments, or you're frustrated with the price action because we can't force like whatever we want to happen, right? I don't like being bearish. I hate, coming on here and talking about, bearish outlooks on the market, but it's for people's benefits, right? Because whenever it comes to making money, you never want to buy when things are high. And, obviously when things are bearish, like that's not necessarily always a bad thing, right? Because me, selfishly, I want to buy at cheaper prices. I've been accumulating at these kind of ranges. I plan to buy more. Like I kind of ladder my buys in. The lower the price goes, the more I buy. And then the higher the price goes, the less I buy. And sometimes like I'm even selling, right? That's the only way you're really going to make money. Like people say like, oh, time in the market is better than timing the market. That is true. But you also want to take profits to kind of just like, live your life, right? Like you can't just like always keep your money in the market indefinitely, right? Like there's obviously different strategies. Like I don't give financial advice. Everybody has a very unique situation. But for me personally, the reason why I got into crypto initially back in 2016 was because, I wanted to make money and I wanted to change my life for the better and kind of live my life. Now, obviously there's a lot of financial freedom that comes with that, even still being in the market, right? You can also do, I've always said this, right? Like I always have spot positions, and then I hedge with either, put options, or I'll do like low leverage short positions just to kind of not lose so much money on the downside. And you never want to just have exposure to one side, because as you guys have been seeing, there's always just such crazy volatility. And just because things drop, 40, 50, 60% does not mean that they cannot continue to drop another 40, 50, or 60%. So that's just like the sad reality. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish that the prices just went straight up. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of like wash trading kind of going on with crypto. And if you guys are just wondering why, like, oh, all these countries seem to be adopting Bitcoin and crypto, how come the price is not up? Well, there's a lot of US companies, for example, kind of like how I say I'm hedging my bets. It's the same thing with like Wall Street, guys. Like there are multi-billion and trillion-dollar asset under management companies. And so basically what they do is they try to accumulate Bitcoin buying spot, and then they basically open up like, maybe they buy put options, right? So that's a lot of sell pressure on these like treasury companies, on IBIT with BlackRock. So they make money on the downside, and then they're able to buy a lot more whenever the price goes down. And that's kind of how they mitigate the risk and they make their money, right? And it's just the unfortunate reality that a lot of people don't really understand. I always have my friends kind of like DMing me or like questioning like, hey man, like I've been buying crypto, like all I see is like good stuff all over the news. What's going on? And it's always just like, it's usually people that are not really experienced whenever it comes to the markets. They're kind of just like looking at the headlines, CNBC, the typical talking heads, right? Like Tommy Lee coming out saying like Ethereum's going to like $50,000 and, basically just like up only, right? And obviously whenever those guys kind of start talking, there's always some sort of like top that's going to be put in. Usually like even like the Trumps, right? Like the sons of, the president, right? They always talk about how good it is to buy like Ethereum and all this kind of stuff. And it's seemingly like every single time they start talking, the price just goes down like 40%, right? And you have to ask yourself a question like, why is this going on, right? Because whenever it comes to like these markets, personally, I think that there's a lot of like geopolitical kind of stuff going on with crypto, because obviously now Trump has kind of cemented himself to be like the crypto president, and the United States is going to be like the crypto capital of the world. And you could look at this as like very, very many different ways, right? Like whether other countries want to kind of punish us for doing that and just showing how bad of an asset like Bitcoin is, which in my opinion, it's the best asset ever. Obviously, precious metals has been going up. I think a lot of these countries are trying to get away from the fiat system, so maybe that's why you see this whole like flight to safety with precious metals. A lot of people are just kind of like mistrusting the stock market as well. And it's just, there's a lot of things that are just kind of going on that's a lot more complex than just like buying something and just like everything going up. Because, even though I do think that the economy and the administration and the governments, they're all going to try to make as much money as they can by basically inflating the dollar or just fiat systems, there's going to be select sectors that kind of outperform, right? And I do think that it's just a matter of time before crypto kind of gets that sort of benefits, right? So again, like I'm not here to be like super bearish or just like, do anything other than kind of caution you guys with kind of what I'm seeing going on. I've been pretty accurate with what I've been kind of predicting. So like, don't shoot the messenger, right? Like it's just, a lot of people are like, oh, show me your short position, or, oh, like you must like not be in the market long, like, oh, like markets, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, dude, like it's always from like a fake profile. They're probably not successful. They're probably like way overexposed to the markets. And it sucks. Like I've been there before too, where I'm just like, I'm super mad at people that post like bearish stuff. Like I used to be that person. And like in the reality, like we don't have any control over the price action, right? Like you can post all the bullish stuff you want in the comments. It's not going to change the fact that the price is going to move in a particular direction, or it's just going to continue to chop. And the best thing you can do is kind of just like digest that and create some sort of strategy that's going to make you better the second time around. Because as long as you're not like over leveraged, you're not leverage trading, you're not taking out loans, you're not investing more than you can afford to lose, you're still going to be able to stay in the game. And there's always ways to make more money like long term, right? The worst thing you can do is just like take on too much leverage and risk and just like zero out, because that's where it's truly just like depressing. So with that being said, I do think we're going to still kind of chop around these levels. I would like to see some sort of short-term relief rally. I think that at the minimum is something we can expect. Probably like within the next 2 or 3 days is kind of what I'm expecting. Like now, I don't know like what kind of levels those are going to hit. Whenever we kind of see this kind of play out, I do predict the altcoins are probably going to outperform Bitcoin just because they've been so massively oversold, as I've been saying. But that all remains to be seen, and that's why you guys are subscribed to the channel, because I give you end time updates. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe. Go do something to distract yourself from the chart action, and yeah, be excited, because I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity coming up. So stay tuned. Bye.